Hello and welcome to the Modern Romantic Podcast, where we like to inspire romanticism through passionate people who do incredible things. Hi, I am definitely looking to be whoever this marvelous individual on this other screen's Valentine is. Hi, I'm Trey, and I am joined by um, a lovely hairy green beautiful entity who also happened to be named Emily. Hi, Emily. How are you?
Hi!
For our listening only audience, Emily was beneath her desk holding a puppet that we that we got from our guest last episode, David Stevens, which you can purchase on his Etsy shop. And I got to say that wow, that came fast.
I got mine in. I was so excited. I also wait. I have to wait. I have to do this.
Oh, that's yes.
It's like the hair's caught. There we go. There.
Oh, that's incredible. So Emily bought 2 puppets from David Stevens. Again, check out his Etsy and check out the episode. It's a great conversation.
All Hands Productions.
All Hands Productions. Thank you.
I'm sorry to derail your intro. I couldn't resist just doing it.
When we cut from the intro and all I saw was that puppet, I can't hold it together. Like that tickles my funny bone so much.
It's you can you keep how do you not smile? How do you not smile at this?
I don't know. I mean, it's like a Muppet just showing up in your face. How do you not just so much glee?
Right?
Excuse me, and my
we're gonna have a
cackle.
podcast now.
Oh.
Bye.
So
I'm gonna totally be a puppeteer now. Sorry, go ahead.
How has your week been, Emily?
It's been great. I have a Muppet.
Well,
it's an all hands production original by David Stevens, not a Muppet, but it has the joy that it contains the same amount of joy that the Muppets do, and so I'm just thrilled to have this nearby. So it's been a great week. Yes,
that's awesome.
How about yours?
Good. Maybe not as Muppet filled, but still just as good. Though I do have to say the Disney Plus special that they did for the Muppet Show, incredible. Love it so much.
It was very nice.
They did a side-by-side comparison of the original intro to the intro they did for this, and it's almost a 1-for-1. And it
really is.
It's so good.
And that's good. The part that feels good. Like it gives you enough nostalgia that's like, that feels exactly the same, but still new. Yes. They did. Yeah, it was just, they got it.
Just right. Humor was good. I was very happy with everything with it. So I hope, Disney, if you're listening, please do more of that. Please do more. I would love to see the Muppet Show come back.
Yes, do that. And also, Disney, if you're listening, let us know. That would be amazing.
You can write to us at please sponsor us. We love you at themodrom.com, which, yes, is still a real email that we have.
We still check it occasionally.
So seriously, what a wonderful thing. Speaking of wonderful things, we have an incredible guest today.
We do.
And who has spent so much of her time and effort creating a wonderful thing that I don't want to take the joy in talking about from her. So Emily, would you do us the honor of introducing our fantastic guest today?
Of course I would. Tonight we're joined by Ann Johnson from the Perpich Arts High School in Golden Valley, Minnesota. It's a place where young artists don't just take art classes, they live in a creative environment every day. We'll be talking about the importance of arts in education and how a school built around creativity can truly change lives. And I'm very excited about that. Thank you for coming to the podcast, Ann.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me. So, yes.
Awesome. We talked on the phone very briefly one day, and it was like this. It was like Providence. And I thought that was so great. I didn't know Perpich High School existed until you told me about it. And that was what a cool thing. So tell us about what Perpich Arts High School is.
I would love to. So we've been around for 40 years, and the name, for anybody that has been from Minnesota, they know Rudy Perpich was the governor. Mm-hmm. And so it was when he was the governor back in the 80s that the legislature created a state agency for the arts. And at the time we were open, we were the Minnesota Center for Arts Education. And so then after Rudy and his wife Lola passed, we were renamed the Perpich Center. But we are a statewide School of the Arts for state of Minnesota for students in 11th and 12th grade, and they can come from anywhere across the state because we have a dorm right on campus. And so
Wow.
we're a regular high school that we do all the normal academics and everything that you would have at every other public school or private school. And they do that in the morning. And then the students have 3 hours every afternoon where they can dive into one of 7 different art concentrations. And I think the biggest thing that people think is that we're already looking for somebody that's amazing and prepared to go into their art, like they're already really skilled in it. And what we always say is we're really looking for someone who's just passionate about it. And we can teach skills. We can't imbue someone with like the passion to do art and to really love it. So that's a quick introduction of what the school is.
That's incredible. Especially because you can teach from zero the art. That pressure to maybe be good already is probably something you must see that often.
It's probably the biggest fear for students. And so it is an application process to come to Perpich Arts High School. And I always say it's a 2-step process. And the first one, we look at a student's academics and we look at, teacher recommendations and things of that sort. And then if that looks good, then they do come in for an admission review. So it's not that they don't have to have an aptitude. We do need them to already, in music, to be able to read notes or, to have some baseline skill level, because we want everyone to be able to grow in their capacity it's a lot of ensemble work. It's a lot of collaboration. And so we want the students to come in with a understanding of that art, but yet we don't need them to already be amazing. And so we need a baseline, but then, and it actually kind of goes to the end, is that our graduates, about half go into their art as their future, and the other half have just loved it. So I say it's a lot like athletics. A lot of kids play a sport in high school. A smaller percentage want to do it in college, and then even fewer than that want to do it as their professional, to go out for a professional league. It's very similar to that with the arts. It's just where people find their niche, find their group of people that really just love what they're doing, and they come because they want to be able to do that more. So,
I mean, I think about some of these schools and I think about the rigor that's required with that, of even the application process. So to even just to say it seems just more welcoming. And I feel like that's such a great foot forward.
yes. It's really because so many of the students come, and I have 3 children of my own, and they were all athletes, and I was in sports in high school, and my husband did it in college. And so I think athletics are great. And oftentimes kids will say, that's where I found my group of people. It's where I found the people I wanted to hang with. And there sometimes just isn't that same celebration of the arts in some schools. Some schools have it in spades. And I should say we have 7 arts. And so a lot of times when you hear the word art, people think of like visual art. So painting or drawing or ceramics and of that sort. But the 7 that we have dance, like a modern African diaspora type of a dance. We have literary arts, which is a creative writing program for the students that just want to work in collaboration on writing. We have media arts, which is photography and cinema. So it's all through the lens. Music, that's a little different than most in that we don't have bands and orchestras and choirs, but it's ensembles where we want the students to learn how to make new music and put new music out there. And then we have theater and musical theater. And then the 7th art is the visual arts. And so, it's really, some schools have maintained visual programs or they've maintained music programs, but some of the arts are just not, and it's understandable. There's budgets, there's faculty to teach it, and there's some other things that are hard. And so we just give kids this opportunity to come, and it's a tuition-free public school too. And that's That's the
Wow.
gift of it, is that there is no cost. It's not private or, where there's an expense that goes with it.
Wow. That sounds like such an incredible opportunity for students to have a tuition-free environment to be able to do all that is
Yes.
incredible. Also, I love that you touched on what you said about art is a lot of people.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh.
One moment. One moment, folks. We will be right back.
I don't know what happened. Can you hear me?
And now, yes.
I don't know. It just told me my connection was lost. So
Oh.
it looks like we're good. I'll just cut that out later. What was I saying? Oh, I love that you touched on that people assume art is like the kind of painting, like the art you hang on your wall. And actually, arts are many creative things. And so
Yes.
that's something that people don't always consider, that theater and music and other types of performing
Writing
art
and
is
all that.
art. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say it's kind of funny when I interviewed for this job, and I've been at Perpich about 10 and a half years. So when I was in high school, I was in music. I was a vocalist and I played flute, and then I was in theater and I did the vocal part when I went to college as well. But I just haven't kept up on that. And so the principal at the time when I was being interviewed, she goes, "Well, what's your art area?" And I said, "Well, now I told the background." I said, "But now I cook." And the principal just started to laugh. She said, "No, no, 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 no. Really, what's your art?" I said, "It's called culinary arts." I mean, there's another type of an art form that you don't always think of, but you have to have an array of colors on the plate. You eat with your eyes before you eat with your palate. And now I bring food in all the time. So they're like, "Okay, yes, it is an art form." And so, but yeah, you're right, Emily, that art is so much more than we oftentimes just give it this quick little quotation mark of art, but it really is just so much more expansive than that. I mean, these podcasts, this is art. And, there's just so many ways to think about art. So.
Agreed. Can you talk to me a little bit more about the collaborative element? Because I'm intrigued when you talked about music, that there's no choir, there's no orchestra, there's no band. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what the ensemble work might entail?
Oh, yeah. For music, so half of the afternoon in all of the performing arts, which would be music, theater, musical theater, and literary arts, which is actually a performative art for us, like that, people would get up on stage and do poetry slams or whatever. But all of the performing arts, half of the afternoon, looking specifically at music, they're in seminars. So they are learning the foundations of music. They're learning the history of music. They learn the history of different types of musical types, like jazz or country or rock. What are the elements that have chords and tempos that really are that? They do classes on production, they do classes on theory. And then when they go into small groups, it's usually 4 students, partly self-selected, like they have somebody they want to work with, but then we put them together. And so there's 4 concerts a year. And so for each concert, they have to do 3 songs. So they have to do a cover that they have manipulated to work with who's in their group. And so whatever the instrument, so that could be somebody's voice, it could be a flute, it could be a violin, it could be a bass guitar. We have just every array of instruments that the kids come in with. So they have to learn to work together to manipulate a cover to work with who's in their group. And then there has to be an original from scratch that they have to just devise and make up. And then that third song can be another cover or another original. And so it really is not perfecting the playing of somebody else. Like I said, it's really, how do we create, how can we put something brand new out there that's never been heard by people before?
I love this. This makes me want to do it myself. That sounds like such a fun challenge.
Yeah.
Do you accept 30-somethings into your program?
Oh,
Right.
Oh, if you only knew how many times the parents would say, "Where was this school when I was a kid?" And yeah, I think there are so many times that a parent or a guardian who's ever coming through with them or a sibling, they really do see this complete uniqueness in how we do it and what we do, because it is, you know, I just explained music, but in visual arts, there is collaboration where they have to talk through and they do critique of each other's work. And so how do you see it as another set of eyes? How do you perceive it? Where can they make it stronger? And then when they see it going up on the wall, where is it best hung? How is it best displayed? And that's all in this collaboration. In the writing, it's everybody can write, in isolation in your bedroom, but if you're working with a group and you're writing and you're bouncing ideas off each other, and what are ways to make that sentence sing a little bit more, it really is collaboration. Every art form, there is a big emphasis on collaboration and supporting each other and working to make yourself better and to make the art form better.
And it's also getting the ideas out there.
Yes.
We've talked about on multiple episodes before this that like we as artists are sometimes scared to put our art out there. And this is almost
Mhm.
kind of giving them a very safe space to talk to other people who are also learning. Um,
Mhm.
and it may not be like the perfect thing, but at least they're bouncing
Yes.
ideas and it may find the thing that clicks. And
Yep.
congratulations, you learn together.
Yeah, yep. And one of the things we try and find from the students as they're going through the process is, um, if you're too much of a perfectionist and you're afraid to put your work out there unless you feel it's perfect, perfection can be the biggest nemesis to good, or what's that expression?
Yeah.
And so we really want them to say, try it. Don't be afraid. Like you said, Trey, it's like, don't be afraid because you're doing something that nobody else has done. And that's what, whether it's in a particular piece of art or something, to not be afraid of the failure of it. Um, One of the things that I think really facilitates that at Perpich is we take almost the first 2 weeks of school to work and build a community, because nobody has been in school together with each other before. And they
Right.
come from all across Minnesota. And so they have different political views. They have different growing up experiences. They have different experiences in the schools they were at. And so we take 2 weeks to really say, how do we talk across differences? How do we make this a safe space? Because until you feel safe there, you're going to not be as free to develop your art and to develop your voice in your art, and without fear of somebody snickering at it, or making a mistake on stage. And then and I always say, all you're going to do is hear finger snaps. You're not going to hear snickers. You're going to hear people saying, oh my gosh, you can do this, and really buoying them up to kind of take that the next step too. So we know we have to build that community before we can make everybody feel safe enough to do what they can do with their art form.
I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the other thing too, and when I was saying that we're statewide, it is not required that people have to live in the dorm, because, we do have kids from every which way across Minnesota. So the students that are too far away to drive, obviously they couldn't come if they didn't have the dorm as a possibility.
Right.
But we also have metro kids that are maybe 10 minutes away that have chosen to live in the dorm as well, maybe because they want that experience, a little like college light, or they're putting that toe in the water of what it's going to be like to live a bit more independently. So there is a cost to the dorm. The
Okay.
school is tuition free, but then for the dorm, it's the further away you live, the more reduced the price is for the dorm. We kind of call it a travel
Oh,
credit. So it's not a flat rate for everybody to pay. It is based on how far away from campus you are. And we've always had financial assistance.
I was going to ask about that. Um, when you are programming things throughout the year, you talked about how there are 4 concerts a year for music. I'm sure that there are similar events for theater and for
Yeah.
the other focuses.
Hmm.
Um, how do you determine what gets done at those performances, and does it change year to year?
Hmm. Let me see if I understand your question. So, yeah, the whatever they're working on. So each performance ties into a quarter at school.
Mhm.
So, for most schools, a lot of their arts are extracurricular. So for us, like in theater, for example, or musical theater, they're going to work through different types of genres and they're going to work with different types of performance styles. And so, depending on what they're working on that quarter, will be what comes forward on the stage. Or depending on what their different students, because with visual we have a huge variety. We have 2D and 3D and digital, and so as a student is working in different mediums, they would be able to put that forward into the exhibition. um, in Yeah, I think it depends on what the teacher is covering in that point, because we want to have every student have a foundation, and then as they show the aptitude, then they go deeper and deeper and deeper into more advanced materials or more advanced techniques and things of that nature. So it's really wherever the student is at the time of the next show or the next performance. That's what would pretty much come up at the public performance or show or things of that sort. And I will say they're all open to the public. So if you ever want, you can
Oh,
anybody can reach out. They're all free and open to the public. And our kids just love having a full audience. And so if anybody is ever in the Twin Cities or you want, you can reach out to me and I'll get you the full year's calendar. We have them all laid out starting in September. So we know when everything is held.
that sounds fun.
It's a free date
I
night.
might have to do that. Yeah. That just sounds cool.
Yeah.
Madaram goes to visit one of the nights at Perpich.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. That would be fun. We do have a recording studio. We could put you right in there. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. You have to come up here, Trey.
I was just about to say that. Let's find a date.
Maybe not in the winter.
Maybe maybe not in the winter.
Oh, well. Well, the school is open 24, or not 24/7, but it's open all year long. So if you're up here in the balmy of the summer, I can get you into any of those spaces.
Okay.
I have the magic key that can get
You
us in
do?
those
Oh,
spaces.
that's wonderful. I was thinking
Yeah.
like at least not maybe like closer to spring or in the fall would be. But yeah, well, whatever. We'll figure it out.
That sounds
Yeah.
good. That sounds good. Because the one thing, when you had said, Emily, at the beginning, that you didn't know that Perpich existed until I had reached out,
Mhm.
I would say that's the thing that is the saddest for me, is that, we're a state agency and, funding, nobody has enough money to do everything you want to do.
Right?
And trying to get the word out there is the biggest challenge that I face, that the whole school faces. Like, how do we make people aware that we exist and that we're an option for everyone? So, I always just say to our students and to our families, or when I meet different people, like I met you, Emily, it's like, you're going to meet people that that I would never have a chance to meet. And so I say that to our students, or, as I travel around the state every fall, I'm like, you know, just if you know of a student that just says, gosh, I wish I could do this more, or I wish this was available, that's how people find us. It's
Yeah.
almost always word of mouth.
When you meet a prospective student for the first time, what are some of the small signals that tell you like this is a Perpich kid?
Oh, um, I think they are just hungry for more art.
Yeah.
Like usually what I hear is I get to take one art class, a semester, and that's it. Or a lot of them will say, I've taken every art class that my school offers, and I just can't get enough and I can't get any more in. Um, so I think it's the student that says, I just can't find people that are like, just want to talk about art. Like a lot of students will say, whether it's a music class or it's an art class, because they are required. Every school, you have to have one fine
Yeah.
art credit. Um, and they will take a class and they'll be frustrated because everybody is taking it for the easy A, or they're taking it because they have to check that box. But the artists that love Perpich are the ones that are like, I just want to talk about it. I just want to talk about it more. And I don't want to stop at the end of the class. I just want to keep talking about it. then I'm kind of like, yep, there's a neon light going over that kid's head. I'm like, yes, you are a Perpich. You're a Perpich kid. Um, yeah. And one of the other things, and it's not something I ever lead with, but one of the things that I really am so proud of Perpich about is that we're a very welcoming and diverse student body. That, we're about 27% students of color, which is about the average for the state of Minnesota. It's not as high as the metro. And so we're always trying to increase that. But we have a real variety of students that, openly express on the gender spectrum. We're all on the gender spectrum, but the kids that maybe just don't feel as comfortable in sometimes in their school or in their community. It's just, it's not the only, they still have to be an artist, but there's still sometimes that for a student, that's just almost like a real gift for them as well, that they can feel like they can be themselves. They can dress the way they want. And the creative student is usually going to be more expressive. And so that's it's the bonus for some kids too, is that they can just kind of
Sure.
be themselves.
A place to belong is important.
A place to
Yeah.
belong. Exactly. Exactly.
Is there a moment like during the admissions process or whenever where something like a student said or did that reminded you of why this matters and why your work matters?
If the number of kids that have cried when I'm either giving them a tour or I call and tell them that they've been accepted, and the number of kids over my time that have just cried. I that to me is like the greatest gift that we can give somebody, that they're just so happy and they just are excited to be able to do that. And you can tell from the gray hair, I'm not the youngest person in the room. But I can't tell you how lucky I feel that my job is my vocation and my avocation blended together, that I just feel so passionately about helping young people. And I get paid to do what I just would do naturally anyway. And the kids are it's just a joyful place to work. I've never heard somebody say, "Oh my God, I got to go to school today." Kids are happy to be there. And they do academics in the morning and then they do their arts in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, a student said, "Why would I hate school? It's like I get to have dessert after every meal." And so that's the way she thinks of it, that her academics in the morning are the meal, but then she gets to do the art every afternoon, which is her dessert. And so I asked her if I could use that, and she said yes. So I do use that as just a comment sometimes.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, yeah.
When you started talking about kids crying and knowing that was the sign that you were doing good, I could tell that Emily and I started to tear up both at
Yeah,
the
it
same
was
time.
that was like, oh yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really unique school, and a lot of times the fact that they're coming in as juniors, it's a quintessential teenage, fear is like, oh my gosh, I'm coming in as a junior. What lunch table am I going to sit at? What cliques am I going to have to break into and whatever. And the great thing is that every junior is new. Every single student there has chosen to come.
Sure.
And so they've made that decision that they're all trying something new, and they meet each other that first day and they just feel like they build this community. And then we have maybe a dozen new seniors a year as well. Then in the morning in the academics, it's intermingled. All 7 arts are together and the 2 grades are together. So right away, it breaks down those barriers. And so, within the first day, I see people talking and laughing like they've been best friends, but they're just finally finding their people. So that gives a lot of the kids a relief, that they're not going to be that outlier, that they're not going to be coming in and trying to break into a group and figure out where to sit, because everybody is coming in, everybody is seeking something different, everybody is looking for what will matter to them more.
It's like it has like the magic of Hogwarts, but with art.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say the old TV show, if you were, Fame, it kind of
Oh,
feels
Yeah.
like the Fame School or, some of
sure.
those kind of things that you get the opportunity. Um, and one of the things to jump in is the biggest question from, the kids' biggest concern is that they're not going to be good enough. And the parents' biggest concern is, oh, great, my kid's going to an art school. And, and then what are they going to do? And the answer is absolutely anything. At graduation, about half of the kids, most of the kids all go to college, right out of school. And about half pursue their art, and the other half go into everything else under the sun. The trades, they go into medicine or education or business. And the fact that as artists yourselves, you'll relate to this, but they are so many transferable skills of what you have
Hmm.
learned as an artist. And in that collaboration and in that, thinking outside the box. And so I always say, don't think of it as an art school, think of it as a hub of creativity, because the low hanging fruit in most every industry has been found. And so now you need people that can kind of pull in collaboration of different people in different sciences or different, entities. And all of a sudden it's like, how can we work together to create something new? And so, when you talk to the parents about that, then they start to see it in their own work or in their own life, or, that they know that, yeah, that collaboration, that creative thinking is a gift that, not every school celebrates or maybe has the opportunity to foster in the same way that we try and do it at Perpich.
Right. Yeah, creativity is resilience and agility in any part of
Yes.
life.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Huh.
Um, can you tell me about can you tell me about some either performances or art shows or even some pieces from the creative writing groups that have really stuck with you over the years?
Oh, do you want it specifically from creative writing or from any of them?
Oh, any of them, just anything
Um,
that stuck with you over the years.
yeah. Um, the one that, oh gosh, there's so many, so I'll have to be selective. But I remember a couple of years ago, one of the visual students had on a stand just one of those foam heads like you would find for that you would put an old wig on or something of that nature, just a head. And on it had woven all of these different little cotton balls into like a different colored nylon and had stuck it on this head of this foam head. And then there were these long hat pins all over. And I never understood what it was. I just couldn't figure it was interesting, but we also have all the students in visual and media have to do an artist statement. And so I finally took the time to read the artist statement, and the student's comment was, I'm a diabetic. I've always been a diabetic. I have to poke myself every day to test my blood sugar. I want you to poke these pins all over and get a sense of what I have to do to myself every day. And so
Wow.
after reading that, and then you're poking these pins into these different, little nylon balls on the head, it just kind of gave me the shivers to think, oh my gosh, what an unbelievable depiction of what her life as a diabetic is. It was like so amazing. Yeah, that one will always stick in my head. Um, for a literary this fall, we have a student, her first name is Rose, and she is freakishly intelligent. And she did about a 5-minute spoken piece about humanity and tied in all of these exact science terms. I mean, she just is a whiz on science. And she was just talking about humanity and all the different chemicals in your body that work, and then all the synapses that have to work. But she made it into this enjoyable to listen to talk or speech about these human emotions, but from the scientific side of it. And I just thought, how amazing to have this incredible scientific mind, but then the creative way of being able to take something very technical but to be able to verbalize it into a way that the mass audience could understand it. That one was really amazing. Um, yeah, I could go on. Yeah, there's a, oh, I could tell you so many more. Do you want more?
Yeah, please. Like, whatever you have, like, please share.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There was one dance student who graduated 3 years ago. She was an African American woman, and she did, it was like a multimedia presentation piece that she wanted to talk about the horrors of slavery and the fight, like through the Jim Crow age and all this. And so she did a solo piece where behind her were all these images of the beatings and all these horrible things that the blacks had to experience during slavery period. And in her body, she would, it had music as well, and she would have it'll seem strange to do this on camera, but she would, lunge like when the sound of a whip would crack on the back, or when she was toiling to carry things like the cotton baskets through the field. And she did that with her body, replicating what was happening on the screen behind us. There was no way to not be moved, because she just was so aware of her body and could replicate so clearly what people had gone through and had experienced, a few years, not a few years ago, back when they were still slaves. That one was, again, and that's the joy of it, is that the teachers don't say, here's what I want you to create. They give them the tools, and then, Sanaa was able to create this amazing dance, and Rose did this spoken word, and that's the fun of it, is that if you come, you'll never see 12 bowls of the same painted fruit. You'll never hear 7 versions of the same piece of music. It is really what the students come up with to tell the story in the way that works for them the most. So
It's really asking the students what they want to put out into the world, and it's
yes.
getting their buy-in, and by that buy-in, it's asking what do they want. And so it's starting to say, "Oh, I can give my opinion on things. I can
Yes.
be an active member of the." Oh, okay. And that
Yes.
I can't,
Yes.
having gone through like adult learning and like teaching that, it's the same for students. Like
Yes.
it doesn't matter. So the minute that you get their like intrinsic motivation going,
Yep.
goodbye. You like,
Yep.
we're off to
Yep.
the races.
We're off to the races. Yes, yes. And it's interesting that you say that the way you just phrased that, Trey, because we even talk very much about how even the academics are taught in a way that's different than most high schools, because Perpich really focuses on inquiry-based learning. And that sounds just like a woo-woo kind of a thing in education, but it's really just trying to get the students to ask the questions within the subject. It's like, why does it matter that we're studying civics? Why? And then they start talking about the crises that we're going through now, or the challenges we're going through now, and then the Me Too movement and the George Floyd movement, all the way back to like the 50s and 60s. There's a history class or a civics class taught looking at different protests, in the last, 50, 70 years. And then instead of it being civics is powdered haired wigs 250 years ago, done that way, suddenly the kids are like, oh, that's right. I am civics. What's happening today is civics. You've got people, you've got the courts, you've got the 3 branches of government, you've got the state and the federal, it's really civics is played out. And then suddenly the kids are like, I get it. Now I understand why I have to learn this. Or, in math class, when they're studying parabolas, they have to go out into society and find examples of parabolas, which could be an arch of a bridge, it could be a smile, it could be a rainbow. And suddenly when they start seeing parabolas in nature, they understand more of why they're measuring it and why, like, math is all around us. And so we really try and get the kids in the academics as well to feel like they have a voice to ask the questions, because if they can figure out why they're asking it and getting the answer, there's just, again, there's greater buy-in. So,
You said something very powerful there that I feel like it never occurred to me in the way you said it, and that is I am civics.
uh-huh.
Duh. Yeah, that was all.
Yep.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, my work here is done. Mic drop.
Have a good night.
No, it really is, it truly is a unique, and I was at Wayzata High School for 12 years. It's an amazing school. It has all the opportunities in the world. It's a large school, and so there was nothing wrong. So we're not the only school that's doing really wonderful things, but we're doing something that's a little bit unique, a little bit more of a niche, really focusing and celebrating the arts in a small community where we're all on a first name basis. All the teachers are first named, the students. And I can pretty much, there's probably, if there's any kids I don't know the names of, it might be 5 or 6. We're a small school. We're only 139 kids this year.
Okay.
And so we're not a massive school. And so I do tell kids, like, if you are the kind of kid that likes to come in and sit in the lecture hall and pull your hat over your eyes and fall asleep, then Perpich is not the place for you. And so, because you're going to be known here, you're going to be individually seen and known. And some kids, that's uncomfortable to them at first until they realize the gift of having people know you and care for you and want the best for you individually and not just kind of en masse. So it's a really unique place.
Is there something that you wish other art teachers in the state or anywhere, or guidance counselors or teachers of any kind knew about Perpich, or something that maybe they don't understand?
I think the biggest challenge right now is I would say that most of the school faculty and whatnot know about Perpich. Well, this isn't anything I haven't said, so I can say it on a podcast. I think one of the drawbacks is that the way Minnesota funds education is it's funded on a per pupil basis to each school. We are not funded that way. We are, as part of a state agency, we are funded every 2 years in a block amount of money when the legislature is funding other agencies within the state. But if a student comes to us from, Sauk Center or Sauk Rapids or Grand Marais, that school loses the funding of that student, because they're no longer attending there. And I get it. I was raised in a small town, and that I know if a lot of, if a number of kids left, it would be hard on the budget. It could be a para, it could be someone in the lunchroom, it could be a bus route. So I really get that. But what I would like everyone at every school to know is I'm not looking to take every theater student. I'm not looking for Perpich to get all of the visual students or all the literary. I mean, there's a host of reasons that not everyone would find Perpich to be the right fit for them. And I just wish dollars weren't what kept some people from recommending Perpich. And, and I've had, really some really heartfelt conversations with some teachers or counselors who have said, we just can't. And at that point, I just say, it might be every 5 years when there's going to be somebody that's the right fit, and at least give them the option, because with all the reports, we're finding that some small communities are being revitalized by artists coming back into those communities. They're bringing their art, they're bringing their craft, they're bringing people together. And so sometimes I think to realize that you sometimes have to let them go and find their craft or their joy, and then they're going to come back and not see it as, oh, I have to get out of here, but hey, I've found something I've learned, and now I'm going to come back. I think that I guess that would be a very long-winded answer to what I wish every teacher and counselor knew, that I don't want everyone to come to Perpich. Not everybody ever will, but to give the students the information to see if it might be the right fit, to keep them engaged. And to keep them, involved in the school system or, engaged in their learning.
Well, and really, it is for the betterment of everyone, because
Mhm.
not only are you perpetuating something that's valuable, you are, like, I think about Sauk Center, Minnesota, for instance, is known for Sinclair Lewis, the author.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what a gift that has given that city in tourism,
Yes.
in popularity, in growth, in people who come to
Mhm.
visit just to get more. And I
Mhm.
think about, I lived for a while in South Carolina, and Rock Hill, South Carolina, was known for Vernon Grant, who is the artist who originally made Snap Crackle Pop. And so I think about all the cities I've ever lived in were kind of known for someone from there,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
And so this is when you talk about having an artist go, that it still gives back to the city somehow,
It
typically.
absolutely does. It absolutely does. And I oftentimes will say, and it's never meant to be elitist, but I'm sometimes like, how do we remember our civilizations over time? We remember the culture of excuse me, the architecture and the
Mhm.
clothing and the music and the artwork that was done in homes and things like that. Those are all done by artists. And when people sometimes say, well, a visual artist, like, really, what are they going to do for a living? And they right away think of an artist as putting something in a gallery. But I'm like, look at the closing. My shirt is different than yours. That's art. And you look at flooring, that's art. And you look at a blanket or upholstery, that's art. And, for the theater students, just being able to have a public speaking ability. One of our alumni came back to speak one time. Her name was Cynthia, and she's now a very successful lawyer, and she was giving a presentation to the student body. And somebody kind of cracked a joke and said, "Oh yeah, a lot of good theater, did you know? Look at, you're a lawyer." And in a beautiful lawyerly way, she just kind of bore down on that student, and she said, "My theater experience was the best thing to make me the lawyer I am." She said, "I can read a room. I was in an ensemble, so I know how to shift gears when I need to shift gears. I am not afraid to get up in front of a jury box or to be at a negotiations table." She said, "I only developed that by being a theater student, or it was enhanced by being a theater student."
Mhm.
And those are those very transferable skills that I think we need to get back to celebrating those and not thinking that art is art in
Yes.
isolation of everything else.
Right. When you think of all the NFL players that take ballet,
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
things like that, you know?
Yes.
My brother
Yeah.
was one of them. He, did it because he was a kicker, and so to be able to maintain the momentum and also, make sure that, didn't strain anything, he did
Yeah.
ballet. And I gotta
Mhm.
say, that man's kick was, about 60 yards consistently.
Yes. Yeah. And it helps because you're working on the small muscles that only can be there. They have to be there to support the bigger muscles as well, so many, yeah, and that's the beauty of it. So, you know, it's just I just want to keep getting the word out there because I just want everybody to have the opportunity. And like I said, a couple years ago, there was a student from Winona who absolutely was an amazing artist and wanted to come up, but she was on the trap shooting team. And she said, "What do I do? And do you have a trap shooting team?" And I'm like, "No, we don't." And that was too important for her, that
Oh,
she was willing to give up the art part because she didn't wanna leave behind that unique thing that she was able to do, in Winona. And I say it that if people check out Perpich and it's the right fit for them, that's awesome. And if they check out Perpich and it's not the right fit for them, it's awesome because to realize that there are choices and you have options,
yes.
it doesn't always have to be you get to pick what option works for you. It's not like, it's a waste of my time
Right.
or their time to check out other things that are available.
But it's worth checking out because it could change the trajectory of a life.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's
Mhm.
it's so nice when we talk talk to artists and we talk to people who are promoting the arts, and the thing that we've said is we love and support people who don't gatekeep information. We love people who are celebrating this information and
Yes.
sharing it among the masses. I love that you are saying that please keep us open as an option, but if it doesn't work out, that's fine. At least you know. And
Yep.
that is chef's kiss beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, I love that expression. So, yeah, it is and for students that if anybody hears this, or not whenever, whoever hears this, and if their student is ever considering, we give students a chance to come down and do a visit day where they would be partnered with a student in the art they're interested in.
Oh, nice.
And that is, I think, the greatest way. Like you can look at a bunch of pictures, you could talk to me on the phone or in person, but for them to actually be in the building, to be partnered with somebody in the art they're interested in, to meet the teachers, to feel the atmosphere of the school, it's just like going to colleges. You get that gut shot when you know it's the right campus when you've walked on. I think it's the same way that we invite kids to come in and visit once, visit twice, or, they can start doing it in ninth grade. And so we've had kids that have come 2 or 3 times to make sure that this is the right fit. And I think that's a nice opportunity for them to check it out in a really personal way to know how it fits for them.
Right. And I bet to our audience, if you're listening to this, and whether you live in Minnesota or not, you probably know someone that this would be a good fit for, whether
Yeah.
it's in your family or friend group or kids of your friends or grandkids of your friends and family. And so it's worth mentioning to them because that might change someone's life. A school like this would have changed my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to just correct you on that. You have to be a Minnesota resident to be able to come to Perpich.
Yes, but you might know someone who is,
Oh,
even if you don't live
absolutely.
here. Yes.
Absolutely. And there are other states that also have it. There's one in Chicago, there's one in
Oh,
Mississippi.
okay.
I mean, we're really lucky that we have it because not every state does celebrate the arts in the same way that Minnesota does.
Right.
But yes, I just think to give kids the opportunity to know, and I do hear that so many times, Emily, from our alumni. Like I would say, if there's one mantra that they repeat the most, it's like that school saved my life. It saved my life, and I just what a gift to be able to have a school to be able to say that a school can do that for somebody.
What a powerful thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Where's my tissue box?
You're right, Trey.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is out of reach. I will get to it. If there was some
okay.
advice that you could give to students who are looking for that, what advice would you give to those students who are looking for a sense of belonging or a place to promote their arts, whether it be at Perpich or elsewhere? What advice would you
Yeah.
give them?
The advice I would give them is trust themselves, be true to themselves first, that there is nothing wrong with feeling, having that deep passion, and sometimes society wants to get that out of them. It's like you want to be a more everybody should go along and get along. And I just think I want kids to feel like if this is who you are, be true to who you are. And the pro and con of social media or social networking on the phone is that it can be so negative, but that also can be where you can find a community, even if they're not geographically close. You can somehow find other people that are artists that are really wanting to celebrate what's going on. Go to, art fairs or art festivals and just, look for people that look like you. I just think that's a huge way just to realize that, some kids go to sporting events, some kids will go to an art festival or go to a music concert. That's just, you're going to find like-minded people. And it's just a really hard go for young people right now, and it just makes me sad. So if I could just let them find joy in what you're doing, even if it's in your bedroom for the time being. But yeah, just art can really be that where you find joy, where when other things are rough and tough, you can maybe do your artwork and it can make you feel better.
I can attest to something you said about going to like an art fair or an art festival. We took my nephew to an art festival near Chicago recently. Well, this last summer, and he was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to an art. He's like 12. I don't know if I want to go to an art festival. I don't know if this is for me. And I really wanted him to come because it was about hanging out with family. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, what kind of art would you want to see there? Like, what is an art form? What is an art that would appeal to you? And he said Mario. And I was like, all right, how about this? We're going to play a game. We're going to go, and I bet you we'll find Mario art. Well, I bet you we'll find some. And you know what? We will look for it. We will go in all the booths and look for Mario art. And wouldn't you know, we found some. And he was so delighted. He was so delighted. And in the end, he spoke to an artist who was so gracious. And there was then he started to open his mind to like other art. Like, oh, some of this is actually kind of cool. And the most unexpected thing happened. He went into this booth where this guy did art, like paintings of like farms and tractors and things. And he went in there and he said, this is really cool. And the guy goes, oh, are you interested in painting? Are you interested in art? And my nephew said, I didn't think so, but maybe I am. And the guy, it was such a cool moment because he goes, well, I do free YouTube videos on how to paint. Let me give you my card so you can go find them online. And I was like, this is so incredible. I loved that moment. I will never forget that moment. It will live with me forever. That was so impactful. Just the opportunity to find something he liked, but also for this artist to be so amazing.
Oh.
And who would have thought he goes there to find Mario and ends up loving farm art? It's so great.
Well, and you never know what might be that key, that little thing. And yeah, I mean, I think that's what it can be, that you can just find that one thing that just opens somebody's mind or their idea. It's like different kinds of music or different kinds of
Exactly.
art or different kinds of dance. I mean, there's not one type of anything. There's just this huge variety. And like they say with food, you have to try something 7 times before you know if you like it. Maybe it's the same thing with art, just try it 7 times or try 7 different kinds and see if you like it or not.
Yeah, it's about exploration and discovery.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh.
Well, I want to make sure people know where to find the Perpich School online. So the website is perpich.mn.gov.
Yep.
And then you guys have social media too, which is linked on the website. But for those listening, it's Perpich Center on Facebook. You can also just look up Perpich Center for Arts Education. And on Instagram, it's Perpich Arts MN.
Yes. And I'll just throw in too, and
Yeah.
I should have thought of this too. You can go on YouTube and you can just type in Perpich and you can find there's some student videos, there's some dance routine, there's little snippets,
Cool.
a lot of different arts, and you can find those if you would go to YouTube and you can kind of see what the art looks like
That sounds great.
in a video or something.
Amazing. And I have to say, you are so authentic in and of yourself. So to be at a place where you are also promoting that people be authentic of themselves is incredible. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you a question that has nothing to do with anything we've talked about thus far, and I'm going to hold it together as I'm holding back tears, which is, if you could sit down to have lunch with anybody in the world, alive or dead, who would it be sitting on the opposite side of that table?
It's interesting because I've thought of this before, and it's no one famous. It's my dad's mom, my grandma Lilibel. She I knew her as a teenager or as a young kid, but we were never close. And I didn't understand how amazing she was. She was born in 1900. And so she was there when electricity came around and cars came into being and trains. And then she taught in a one-room schoolhouse. And somehow she saved enough money and she ended up traveling the world. She loved Alaska. She went like 4 different times. Um, and somehow she raised a family of 5 kids, living in an old house with a farmhand that was running the farm, and somehow kept her family together and did all this amazing things. And she was super smart. And I just never got to know her when she was alive. I was just too young to appreciate what she all accomplished. And as I've gotten through my own adulthood, and I'm just how hard sometimes life can be, I find her just amazing. And someday I hope to have a conversation with her to really learn more. And my dad passed away, 28 years ago. So I can't even ask my dad about his mom because he's gone as well. So Lilibel, Grandma Lilibel is who I would want to visit with.
That's a great answer.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Well,
What a fun question.
thank you. Well, Anne, thank you so much for being on the podcast with us. Thank you so much. Would you come back? Like, we'll do a whole episode on your cooking. Like, can we just talk about culinary arts?
Yeah, we didn't ask about your art very much.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would love to come back. This has been such a joy. You guys have made it so easy. It's my first ever podcast, and you made it easy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate hearing that.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you.
Please go support Perpich in whatever context that you can, whether it's attending one of their events throughout the year or whether you're contributing to Perpich in some form or another. Please go support them and Anne and all the incredible students that are at this amazing school. From the Modern Romantic Podcast, we want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight and listening wherever you're tuning in. You can find additional episodes on our website at themodrom.com or wherever you get your podcasts. You can support us on Patreon. Just search for The Modrom on Patreon. Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.